Hello there. Hello there. From wherever you are tuning in, I hope that this is helpful. I am excited about tonight. I am in New York, so it is 10 o'clock in the evening. And I know that there is a game going on, so a lot of people are probably enjoying the soccer game. But I wanted to just jump in and share this workshop and talk a little bit about why men struggle with belly fat, with low energy, and with blood sugar the moment that they turn 35. And it keeps going. Even if they're trying to be healthy, even then nothing has really changed, even if they don't drink beer, you know how they call it the beer belly, and all of that. So let's get started. If you don't know anything about me, my name is Jenny Pena. I am a national board certified health and wellness coach. I reversed my prediabetes through lifestyle changes. So I went through my own journey trying to find different things, tried different things. And after trying and failing, I finally was able to figure out what was a sustainable way to manage my blood sugar and reverse prediabetes and maintain it in normal ranges without the need for medication. And now I help other busy men and women do the same. I have helped over 400 clients through contracting work, through private coaching, through my company, and for different reasons, right? But all about blood sugar, diabetes, prediabetes, and everything that comes through it. A lot of people think that it's just about the A1C, but when you having blood sugar imbalance, even without the prediabetes or diabetes diagnosis, you do experience that brain fog. You do experience that lack of energy. And that's why they're so interconnected and it's so fascinating. And last but not least, I am a podcast host. And if you're here, I have the episodes every Friday, and they're on every major podcast platform. And also, I have it right here on YouTube, so you can listen to it here as well. And it's called Prediabetes and the Path to Better A1C podcast. Now, let's continue because we have a lot to cover. Now, what is my goal for today? I want you to learn what is really behind that beer belly, that belly fat, that low energy, and that blood sugar that is starting to get a little imbalance. And I want you to walk away with a simple plan to fix it. That is my goal. After the end of this workshop, you should be able to understand everything that I'm saying right here. Now, why is this important? Because you may be like, well, Jenny, what is the point of this? Well, most men over 35 are told to watch their diet with no real guidance. And meanwhile, the belly fat grows, the energy keeps dropping, and they're starting to see that their glucose levels and the A1C levels, they start creeping up slowly. This is not just aging. It is your body sending signals that deserve real answers, right? So it's something that you should not dismiss. I know a lot of doctors, a lot of practitioners, they like to be a bit more passive. I would say that if you start seeing these things, not to necessarily panic, but pay attention to these things. Now, this is my promise that in this workshop, you're going to go from feeling frustrated and confused by this belly fat, this low energy, all these blood sugar imbalance, and you're going to understand what is really happening in your body. And you're going to walk away with a simple, realistic strategy that is going to support your metabolic health. This is my promise. I can assure you. Now, who is this workshop for, you may ask? This is if you have prediabetes, if you know that because of family history and other risk factors, you are at risk of developing type 2 diabetes, or you have been told to watch your blood sugar. Maybe you're a busy professional. You're between 35, 55, maybe a little bit older, and you're dealing with this belly fat that you don't understand why it's happening. You're having low energy, you're having the brain fog, or maybe you're in this third category. You just want a simple, realistic plan that is going to help you regain that energy and create that balance without extreme diets and without having to spend hours at the gym. So, if you fall into these three categories, this workshop is for you and you're going to get a lot from it. Now, here's what we're going to cover today: why belly fat, low energy, and blood sugar struggles increase after 35, the three root causes most men never address, and the simple 111 method to start turning it around today. Not next week, not next month, today. Now, why does belly fat increase after 35? Why is that? And it is because when your body becomes resistant to insulin after 35, the glucose cannot enter your cells efficiently. What ends up happening is that it signals your body to store fat, especially around the midsection. And that happens, and it tends to show a lot more after you turn 35. Now, insulin resistance is something that can develop silently for years before ever showing up in any lab test. So it is not a quick diagnosis, something that develops quickly. It is something that takes time. And in fact, like there's 1 in 3 American adults that have prediabetes, and sadly, about 80% have no clue. That's why if there is anything that you take out of this workshop, please make sure that you know what your A1C levels are and what your fasting glucose levels are. Ask your doctor, talk to your doctor about it. Make sure that if you are in that prediabetes range, that you are aware of it so you can start making changes now. Now, here's a testimonial from a client. He thought that the belly fat was part of getting older, right? Like, it's like, okay, like that's just something that happens. But actually, blood sugar was behind it. And he was able to lower the A1C from type 2 diabetes to prediabetes in about 4 months with the use of medication, dear doctor, but also a lot of lifestyle changes that we were able to incorporate. Now, you may ask, okay, we know about the belly fat now. We know that it has to do with the insulin resistance and the signals to the body. Why is it that my energy levels drop after 35? Well, one thing that is impacting a lot, and probably you are familiar with it, it has to do with chronic stress and cortisol levels. When you have your cortisol levels elevated, the body starts again storing that fat, and it's typically visceral fat. And that is the fat that is around your internal organs. Sometimes it's not even that visible. And that fat has a lot more cortisol receptors than fat that is stored in any other areas of the body. And what ends up happening is that over time, you're having the elevated cortisol because of that chronic stress. It ends up encouraging your body to store even more fat around the midsection. And then when you combine that with poor sleep, excess calories, because now you're trying to compensate for the stress, it just ends up in insulin resistance. Now, for many women and many men, low grade daily stress is one of the biggest and most overlooked drivers, not just for belly fat, but also for blood sugar. And I can understand work deadlines, family responsibilities, poor sleep, financial pressure, all of these things, they actually keep that cortisol elevated, and it keeps it elevated around the clock. Very intense. And that's why stress management is so important. And a lot of people hyper focus on nutrition, and nutrition is important, but it's not the only element to take into consideration. Now, one thing that Maria, my former client, said is like, wow, I could not believe it. She was very resistant. She thought that this was not going to create any difference, and it did. And she said, incorporating breathing breaks between meetings made a huge difference on my mood. She actually lowered her A1C levels 4 points from prediabetes to normal range in about 5 months. And she did it without medication. And a lot of the elements that were impacting her A1C levels, it was actually not as much of the nutrition, but other habits around sleep and stress and the type of job that she had, right? Like she was a high executive doing all these things. So it was very hard for her to carve time to create those breaks, but she was able to do it. Now, we talked about why the belly fat. We talked about, okay, why is it that stress and all these things and impacts your energy levels? Now let's think about why is it that blood sugar is so hard to manage at times? Or at least it feels that way. And that is because, specifically for men, after age 30, men lose between 3 to 8% of muscle mass per decade. Per decade. And muscle is the body's primary site for glucose uptake. So muscle uses the glucose. So the less muscle you have, the poorer blood sugar control you're going to have, the more fat storage. Now, the good news about this is that it's actually reversible. Now, think about what happens, right? Like you're having belly fat, you're having high stress because of the job. So, what ends up happening is a lot of people skip meals, they underfuel, and then that forces your body to go through everything and run on empty. And what happens with that? Well, your liver responds by releasing stored glucose because liver doesn't want you to die, literally. So it causes that unpredictable blood sugar spike. That's why some people they go to bed and they're like, "Oh, I don't understand. I just woke up. Why is my blood sugar so elevated?" That's because the liver is responding and releasing that stored glucose. Now, here's another testimonial from my former client, Nancy. She lost over 20 pounds. She was able to reverse prediabetes and she had no time. She was like, Jenny, I cannot go to the gym. I hate the gym. I don't want to be around people. I don't want them to see me sweating and all that. So she shared, I was able to add 30 minutes of movement across my workday and plan my meals that gave me energy. So she had a completely different structure and strategy. And that's what I love about what I do because I don't use a cookie cutter strategy. I look at exactly what are your strengths, what are your challenges, what are your resources, and then we work through them to make sure that we incorporate the habits that are sustainable, habits that you can actually accomplish, right? Like we don't want to start setting goals and setting activities that in the end you won't be able to. Now, we talked about those three elements that I promised at the beginning. This is my first step solution. And when I say first step, I mean you don't know where to start. My clients sometimes don't know where to start and they feel overwhelmed. And we work in a partnership in a sense that if you work with me and I get to provide coaching services for you, you pretty much lead which areas you may want to focus first. I'm here for guidance, I'm here for support, for education, for accountability. But I have had some clients that are like, Jenny, I don't know where to start. So typically, what I tell them is, okay, this is something that is simple enough that we can start until you kind of get your grounding and you focus on what is next. And that is my 111 method. And it came up after working with hundreds of clients, and I just kept seeing the same pattern. I'm like, okay, people are just overwhelmed. We have so much information now. We have social media, we have the internet, we have AI. There is so much. And while it can be a great resource, it can be a lot as well. So I kept seeing the same pattern. People were overwhelmed with all the different diets, different modalities, supplements, complicated rules. It was just too much. So I created that 111 method. And what is that? One simple action in three areas that you can do every single day. Something simple, not overwhelming, not perfect, just something that is realistic and that can be a starting point that actually works. And what is that one step, right? The first is balance meal. And what I tell my clients is pick one meal, one breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Pick one meal and balance it. Now I'm going to explain what balancing the meal is. Build one meal a day around the PFF formula. So think about best friend forever, BFF. Change that B for a P. PFF. And what is that? It's a formula that is going to help you build your meal in a way that is going to stabilize your blood sugar, is going to help you curb those cravings, and it's going to sustain your energy. You're going to have energy. You're not going to go in peaks and valleys. And how do you build that PFF, right? How do you build that balanced meal? P stands for protein. I want you to pick a meal and say, okay, where is the protein in this meal? And if it doesn't have any protein, think about ways of incorporating protein that you enjoy. Chicken, fish, shrimp, Greek yogurt, eggs, cheese, tofu, tempeh. All of those are sources of protein. Then the first F is for fiber. Add lots of fruits and vegetables and whole grains, nuts and seeds. All of those are sources of fiber. Not every vegetable and fruit and whole grain has the same amount of fiber, but you should look for those items that have fiber. It will help you tremendously. And then the last F would be for healthy fats. Fats were legalized, right? Like, okay, everything was low fat, but now we know that incorporating good fats is important. Think avocados, olive oil, nuts. All these fats are great and they help you with your cholesterol levels, which is also tied sometimes with blood sugar imbalance. A lot of people with prediabetes and type 2 diabetes, they start seeing that their cholesterol levels and their lipid levels are going up as well. So it's kind of interrelated. Now, the second step, we talked about the meal, the PFF formula. The second step is one movement break. What does that mean? Think about the fact that I did not say a workout or a class or anything like that. I said one movement break, right? Something that you can easily build into your routine. Right? Because remember, this is the first step. You want something simple. You don't need to think about you need to carry a gym bag now, or you need to buy a gym membership or doing all these things. You're trying to find something that is simple. So incorporating exercise bites or even snacks, that's another term that I'm hearing a lot. It will help you incorporate movement. The gym is great, but you don't need it if you lack the time or you lack the resources. Some people say, well, I don't have a gym nearby and I'm going to need an hour and a half in order for me to drive there, get there, do everything that I need to do, then get ready to head back home. Sometimes it could be the cost. So it could be a lot of different things. But what I'm saying is, if you love the gym, go for it. But it doesn't mean that it's a need. It's more of a preference or based on your resources. Another way that you can incorporate these exercise bites that don't include the gym, that don't include complex equipment or anything like that, is just taking a 10-minute walk after a meal. It will reduce your blood sugar spike up to 27%. Doing calf raises at your desk, doing squats, marching in place, it will make immeasurable differences. So think about it. You pick one meal, breakfast, lunch, or dinner, balance it. You pick one simple exercise bite, start moving, find a schedule, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, no more than that. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed and incorporate that movement. And then the third step, which is one that not many people think is needed, I do get a lot of resistance sometimes, is scheduling a one mindful moment. And what is that? Is Having that moment to focus on your breathing or rest or reflect, journal, something that is going to regulate your nervous system. Because when you regulate your nervous system, then your cortisol levels go down. And it's that mindful moment that is going to help you break that fight or flight signal that keeps your cortisol levels elevated. So remember what I mentioned before, right? The cortisol levels, they raise your blood sugar. So that one mindful moment a day, it is going to help break that cycle and give your brain a massage. Think about it that way. You could go for a short walk. You could take a 3-minute breathing break. I had a client that felt that, okay, I cannot leave my office. Everybody keeps interrupting me. I don't know how I'm going to do this. And what I ended up suggesting was go to the bathroom. So then you need to go to the bathroom and take that break. Um, find ways of taking mini breaks and schedule them in your calendar, but it doesn't have to be long. A lot of people think that it needs to be this huge, grandiose thing. It doesn't have to be long, but it's something that will break that intense cycle. So here you have it, right? We talked about 3 different elements that you may be struggling right now. And now we talked about 3 different steps that you can incorporate: one balanced meal, one movement break, one mindful moment. That's it. Not a diet, not a complex exercise plan. 3 daily actions that work to support better blood sugar, more energy, and guess what? Also your belly fat. So there's no need for perfection. You just need to start. If you feel like 3 things are too much, start with one. I'm giving you 3 options. You can start with one, solidify that week, then build from there, stack it, add the next one. You can pick. You can pick the one that you feel that is easier for you to accomplish, or maybe the area that you feel that that is the one that requires more attention, right? But you own your journey. I'm giving you the solution, and there are even ways of you applying that solution. It is not a cookie cutter approach. Now, you may think, okay, Jenny, well, I already heard that I have prediabetes. There's a lot of information out there. I think I'm going to DIY this thing. I'm going to try to keep going. Why taking action is important? Why? Because you have the knowledge, right? And knowledge, we know that alone, it does not create change. And that is the key. That's the aha moment that I want you to take. That, yes, you may know all of these strategies. First, not all of the strategies that you hear are all for you. But the key is in the implementation. And most men and women, when I provide these workshops that are like monthly workshops that I provide, they leave the workshop feeling motivated. And guess what? Within 48 hours, life gets in the way, old habit returns. I don't have time. The overwhelm comes back. They lack accountability. They forget some of the things. Maybe they wrote it on a piece of paper and they lost it. And that is exactly why I created the A1C Reset Protocol. And I would love to talk a little bit about that. Now, you may be asking, how can I actually accomplish sustainable change? How can I get to the implementation? How can I get from I know what I need to do, I know I need to exercise more, I know that my A1C levels are elevated, I know that I need to eat more vegetables or add more fiber. How can I get from knowing to actually doing it? How can I make it work? And make it work without being overwhelmed, without feeling that I need to overhaul my entire life or that I need to spend lots of money on supplements or special foods and all of that. Well, my program has 3 major cycles. At the beginning, we focus on clarity. We're going to pinpoint the exact habits that are driving that belly fat, that are impacting your energy, all these blood sugar, all the struggles. We look through all of your habits and we identify, okay, these are the things that probably require our attention. Then you go into the guidance. You get the step by step coaching. You get support via live one on one sessions. These are private coaching sessions. And you get support in between sessions via text or via email, whichever way you prefer. And I have clients that they're in the grocery store and they're sending me questions. If they're not sure about something, they come with all of these questions. So they have me as their guide throughout so that we can get that support and get you the results that you need. And then you move into change, sustainable change, so that you can master something that is repeatable, that fuels your energy, that lowers your A1C, that you feel amazing, and that you will have that confidence that you're going to be able to go to a restaurant, you're going to be able to go to social events, you're going to be able to travel for work or go on vacation and not be afraid of the choices that you need to make, of having a blood sugar spike, not having energy. You're afraid of all these things. You're going to have that confidence. And that is how I support my private clients. And it brings me so much joy because I wish I had the same support and I didn't. And I do it without necessarily getting you into buying all these fancy supplements or anything like that. Without getting to extreme diets, you're going to do it in a sustainable way. Something that you can see, oh, I can actually do this. And that's what most of my clients tell me. And that's why they're so successful. Because after they complete my program, they understand exactly what they need to do. And they feel confident that they can continue. Some go into maintenance with me and we see each other every month, sometimes every quarter. Sometimes they are tweaking and they're having new goals and they want to get that support. And we have that. But my goal for the A1C reset protocol is that after you do that, you're going to have the confidence and the ability to continue on your own. And what is this A1C reset protocol? That is my signature coaching program. I created it after going through all of these ups and downs, taking medication, not working, having side effects, having to work 12-hour days, and not having the energy and traveling for work. I was a mess. And I had to learn through trial and error. But maybe that was a way of me learning and then going for training and becoming a health coach, because now you don't have to go through that. And this program, again, is a personalized one-on-one 12-week program that is going to help you reduce that belly fat. You may end up losing some weight. You reverse your prediabetes, lower that A1C. And not only that, you're going to sleep better. You're going to feel better. You're going to have energy. You're going to have clarity. A lot of my clients, they don't come because, oh, I have brain fog. And then they realize that the brain fog they had everything to do with the blood sugar, because the moment we address the blood sugar, they started to feel better. Even they are not focusing on weight loss. The fact that their eating habits are changing, that their sleep habits are changing, it indirectly impacted their weight. One-on-one coaching support, it's not group coaching. You're getting me pretty much on your pocket for those 12 weeks. And you're going to have that support and that accountability. We're going to have clear plans. We're going to build it around your life. Because if you're a stay-at-home mom or you have a business and you work from home, your schedule and your responsibilities are very different from an executive, or for somebody that drives a truck, or from somebody that works from home. So it is very different. And that is the beauty of my program, where we can find those sustainable strategies. Sustainable means that it's not a diet. You're not going to do this just for 1 week or 1 month or 3 months. We're finding strategies that you can see yourself doing for the rest of your life without feeling overwhelmed, without feeling that you're depriving yourself from the foods that you eat and you enjoy now. We figure out a way of doing that and still support your body. And that's the beauty of the program. Now, you may be asking, how do I apply? Where do I click? What do I do? Well, you need to book a clarity call because I take this program seriously. This takes a lot of time, and I want to make sure that I am the right person for you and that you are the right person for the program. And I will be the first person that after we speak and after we discuss about your challenges or your goals, if there is anything that either you or myself feel that, oh, this may not be the right fit, I'll be the first person to tell you. And if I have a resource or an individual or anything that may be a better fit for you, I'll be the first person to recommend you. So, what happens in this clarity call? 20 minutes. We talk about health goals, symptoms, your biggest roadblocks. We figure out, okay, is this insulin resistance that is driving the belly fat, the lower energy? We talk about all of that. And then we make a decision as to your next step. One thing I can promise you, the same way that I promised you at the beginning of this workshop, is that when you book a clarity call, you're going to get clarity on your next step. And it doesn't mean that the next step may be working for me. It may. It is for most of the people that book the call, but for some people it hasn't. They'll be like, well, this is not what it is. And we just have that conversation. But they leave the conversation with clarity. And that is a win for me. Now, take action now. This clarity call is free. You have no obligation or pressure to enroll into my program. I will talk to you with the same love and dedication that I would do anybody, regardless if you are going to enroll or not. It is simply a conversation. A conversation just to see, is the A1C reset protocol the solution for you? What is the solution for you? And the only thing that you have to lose is another month or another 5 months or another 10 months of you scrolling on social media, looking online, trying different diets and not seeing results. Because that I do not want for anyone. I want you to be able to find a clear solution, not more information, more strategy, and a strategy that works for you. And if you want the blood sugar spike, I want you, this is a cheat sheet that I created because some people were asking, okay, you give so much information about how to balance your blood sugar. What happens when I actually have that blood sugar spike? So I created this sheet for you, and I'm going to put it on the link in the description. But if you need it, just comment, say I need the bonus resource, and I'll make sure that you get it. Okay? But this is an amazing one pager just telling you what you need to do if you feel that, okay, I'm having a blood sugar spike, there's a blood sugar high, and I am feeling horrible. What do I do to try to normalize that blood sugar fast? Now, if you have any questions, I'm going to check in the chat. I don't see anything in here, but if you have any questions or if you see the replay, make sure that you comment, send me a message, put the comment there, ask for questions. I'll make sure that I answer. And I hope to see you all in a clarity call so that we can talk about all of this, because this is something that I am very passionate about. And I am so thankful for you tuning in, taking time to listen to me. And I would love to also hear if you incorporated anything, if you already have one of the three habits, or you're going to do all three, if you have a version of that 111 method that you're going to incorporate, I would love to hear about it. So, have an amazing week, and to a balanced blood sugar and more energy and no belly fat. Bye.